First thing, make sure you have your affairs in order. That means that you have all of your information written down in one place. If you have a will, if you don't have a will, that is okay. You have to start where you are today. So get organized where you are. Second thing, update and fill the gaps that you find as you're figuring that out. Do I need a will? Do I need a trust? Who needs to be notified? What do I need to update? Once you have that, the third step, and this is the most important thing for solo entrepreneurs and micropreneurs, is creating that succession plan for your actual business in the event something happened. A lot of people say, I want to be a micropreneur and entrepreneur because I don't want to have a boss anymore. And that is a ridiculous thing to say, because anybody that's actually in the thick of it knows that you're just trading one boss for a different type. Now you have employees that are your boss. Now you have customers that are your boss. Now you have spouses that are your boss. But you have this empathy and this drive and this need that you have to make sure that they're okay. If something happened to you, what happens to them because the business ceases to function? Do you need a buy-sell agreement, which means that if you have a partner, that they have the opportunity to buy them out because they might not want to be in business with your Aunt Sally, who could inherit things, let's say. So it's going through those succession planning steps.
I'm Kandas Rodarte, and this is Gratitude Geek. Today, I'm joined by the CEO and founder of Buried in Work, Adam Zuckerman. We are going to dig deep into the importance of estate planning, and it's going to be fun. I know. But first, we have a new promo this week from HoneyBook, and it's hot off the presses. I just received it this morning. HoneyBook is a client relationship platform that helps independents manage clients and projects with ease and confidence. With easy-to-use tools that create elevated client experiences, HoneyBook makes running your business and getting paid on time simpler. Check out the show notes for a special offer just for Gratitude Geek listeners. All right, welcome, Adam.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thanks so much.
I had so much fun playing on your website, and fun and estate planning don't normally go together. Before we get into the interview, what would you like the audience to know about you?
I have a strange background. I'm an attorney. I have an MBA. I've worked in finance. I was at a hedge fund that grew to $1.2 billion while I was there.
That's tiny. That's so small.
Tiny.
Chump change.
Chump change. At one point in time, I was the entrepreneur and futurist for the Discovery Channel's parent company, which meant we have somebody jumping off the top of Mount Everest. How do you make the show better, or go fix file sharing internationally, or go invest in startups? And I was actually in clean energy selling nuclear power plants to prime ministers and ministers of energy and companies around the world. And what I'm doing now is the absolute last thing that I ever thought I'd be doing, and is by far the most rewarding that I've ever done. So it's a strange little tidbit.
So how do you get from nuclear power plants to estate planning tools?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was traveling a lot. I was on 54 flights in 1 year, mostly international, and I realized that I actually missed my wife, so I resigned. And I thought I'd take some time off to relax, and I had my dad over in the basement. We were working on a project, and he walks up the stairs, and he goes, "Adam, I'm tired." And when my dad says he's tired, it's different than if you and I say it. If we say it, we go and drink some tea or some coffee, we take a nap. When he says it, he goes to the hospital. And the reason why is at the time, he was 6.5 years into his first diagnosis with leukemia. So I actually donated bone marrow to him the first time. He relapsed. We got him fixed, put him back together best we could. And I say this, with tongue in cheek. Came back a third time. He went to the doctor on Tuesday. They ran some tests. He went to the hospital on a Thursday. They checked him in, and he died 12 days later.
Oh,
crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So with my background, being the attorney, being the MBA, my mom's still around. One of my sisters is local. My other sister lives in Canada. I was named executor on the will, and I helped my mom with all the transitions in the estate. And I took really detailed notes of everything that I was doing. Literally hundreds and hundreds of rows. On this day, I did this task for this reason. I used this template that I created, and here's the follow-up. And when I showed my mom's financial planner what I had put together at the end of the conversation, she said that it was the most comprehensive transition she'd ever seen in her life, and I had to give it away. Now, I'm just about 45. I'll turn 45 in a few months, maybe when this goes live. And I grew up watching cartoons. And the devil popped up on my shoulder, from the cartoons. He's like, "Adam, she's full of crap. She's lying to you. She just wants you to not move your mom's money because she knows that you have power of attorney. And then on the other shoulder, I had that angel pop up, and he goes, it's kind of organized what you did. Maybe you should share it. So I showed a bunch of friends, both my age, sandwich generation, parents' age, older, 75 and above. And every single person said, Adam, this could really help a lot of people. Type up your notes, what you learned, make it available for other people. And that's what I did. I built a website in a few days. I thought it was going to be effectively just a blog. And I posted to LinkedIn, Facebook, Nextdoor. And in a week, I had over 10,000 visits to the website. And the rest is history. We're now getting between 1 million and 1.5 million unpaid organic impressions every single month. We have people on the site from all over the country. We've got guides and checklists and products and games. And we're taking an approach of if we don't have it, we want to build it or connect you with somebody that can help you. And so far, things are working pretty good. So that's the weird background.
Speaking of the things, the resources that you have on your site, buriedinwork.com, by the way, I had so much fun playing because you have things on there that I never would have imagined would be necessary for estate planning. When my husband and I did our estate plan, we went to my friend Kara's office and, drank some coffee, and she asked us a bunch of questions. And then a few weeks later, gave us this big old book and said, don't forget to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And you have, the first thing I want to talk about are your conversational games.
Okay.
You have card games for estate planning. Talk to me about that.
Okay. So when most people think of estate planning, they think of exactly what you just described. You go to an attorney, maybe you do it yourself and you get your will. Maybe you're lucky if your estate warrants it and you have a trust set up and here are your documents, I'm good to go. But the reality is that a comprehensive estate plan is so much more than that. It's who needs to be called in the event something happens. If you can't advocate for yourself, who gets to advocate for you? That's the advanced directives power of attorney. It's your end of life decisions of what you want to have happen in a celebration of life or in your funeral or cremation. There's so many different things that need to come into play that people just don't think about. Like, do you have pets, Kandas?
Oh, yes, two
You've
wonderful cats.
If you and your husband are traveling and something were to happen to you, what happens to your cats, right?
Yeah.
So what we realized is we needed to work with professionals around the world, around the country that really know what they're doing. And that led to many of our specific sets of content and resources. So for example, in our Clear Kit, and I'll answer the question about the games in a second. So sorry about the sidebar and the tangent.
I do want to dig deep into the Clear Kit. And if it makes more sense to start there, then we should start there.
I think starting a Clear Kit is probably going to be better for you and then go into the games as a complement.
Okay. So we're going to talk about Clear Kit and then we'll talk about games.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I asked you the question in the wrong order.
Yeah.
The audience is laughing right now.
It's okay.
So talk to me about Clear Kit.
So most people think that organizing your estate is having a will or having a trust. And the reality is, while that's a really great foundation to start from, there's so much more information that you need to collect. So it's your key contact information, who needs to be contacted in the event something were to happen to you. Where is your information? Where are your passwords, your digital legacy? Even if you have pets, what happens to them? And it's such a subject matter expertise that is required for each one of these specific buckets that you're looking in. We engaged with those subject matter experts from around the country to make sure that we're asking the right questions. So for example, for the pet profiles, we worked with veterinarians. For your assets liability section, we worked with certified financial planners to help us organize the information. And a lot of people come and they say, I have a binder, or I went and saw my attorney, I got my will, they gave me a binder, I'm good to go. But the reality is that that binder, because it only organizes just the information that they gave you, it could be improved. And what we ended up doing is creating the Clear Kit, and it's an acronym. It's the Comprehensive Legacy and Estate Administration Repository Kit. It's clear. Right?
That's not very clear, but okay.
It's not really clear. It's clear when you see it. To help people organize all of their information across the various buckets that we found in a format that is easy enough for literally my mom to use. I put everything through the mom filter. And it's helped save people a heck of a lot of money. There's one person that used it and saved $403,000, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's almost $500,000.
Yeah. Now, here's what happened. So there are standalone products that you buy it, you fill information out, and you're done with it. what we've done is we've created a repository of information. It's now being called the most comprehensive end-of-life resource available. There's 2,000 articles, over 100 checklists, 15 plus guides, 20 service provider directories, a whole host of other things that we can talk about. Really cool games too. And the Clear Kit has links that say, okay, now that you're at this point, you should go and look at this hub or look at this checklist. And one of the checklists was making sure that you know what the most important accounts are that need to be paid. It doesn't matter if you skip and miss your Netflix payment, but it's really bad if you skip your life insurance policy payment. And that's what happened here. The husband was in the hospital. He wasn't paying his bills anymore. And it turns out that the life insurance policy that they have had for decades was 2 days from terming out. And she realized that. She was able to contact the life insurance company. They got an extension of a few days. They overnighted a check. He passed away a short time after that. And a month and a half after that, they got their check. They literally would have lost $403,000.
Wow. That's the hard part, is knowing what's next. Because when you, having gone through the loss of my mother and my mother-in-law within days of each other, basically, the steps that it took to get everything organized was overwhelming. Yeah. And having the checklists, I'm sure, is extremely helpful. So when my mom and dad, when I was a teenager, so that was back in the 80s, my mom and dad followed this up-and-coming estate planning guru of the day who had a TV show on PBS, or did these PBS specials, and they bought her kit and they did her estate plan through that.
It's the Susie Orman kit.
Yes, it's the Susie Orman kit. Yeah. And, but it wasn't, they did have to take it to an attorney and make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And how that was, gosh, I don't want to call my age out, but I just said 80s. That was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Am I that old? Oh my God.
Well, here's the thing. You're not alone. In America, every single day, 10 to 12,000 people turn 65. By the end of the decade, there'll be twice as many people 65 and older than there are today, which is crazy. And the really scary thing about that stat is that women are outliving their male husbands by 5.8 years on average in the country.
Isn't that a pretty standard time frame, though? Haven't women always outlived their husbands?
Mm-hmm. But when you think about what the impact of that is, because the number of boomers, if you look at traditional family value households, and obviously this isn't the same for everybody, there are plenty of women that are far more capable than their husbands to manage the finances. But if you look in that traditional family value household, there's a lot of women who are about to be in a situation in the next 10, 20 years or somewhere in between, where they just don't know how to pay the bills because they haven't done it before. And our kit, other systems, I don't care who you use, but you need to get a handle on what to do in the event something happens, because the last time you want to figure it out is when you're facing that grief.
Well, it's a lot more complicated now, because back in the day, you got a bill in the mail. Now you have a password to a website. And so if you don't have one place where all those passwords are written down, not stored on a computer, but written down, so that people can access the website to pay the bill. Because I don't know how, I don't think, we might get two. We might get two bills in the mail. The rest is all paid, electronically. And I'm sure that we actually have two more than most people have that come to the house in an envelope.
That's one of the jokes in the estate planning industry, is that with the attorneys, what do I do after someone passes away? What bills do I need to pay? It used to be, well, just wait for the mail. In a month or two, you're going to get a you missed payment letter. And that doesn't happen anymore because everything's digital, like you said. Mm-hmm. So things have gotten much more simplified in a lot of ways because of digital. But at the same point in time, it's become more complicated. And today, on average, it now takes 570 hours to settle an estate in the country. And a lot of that is because of the scavenger hunt. So theoretically, let's say that you're coming over to my house to make dinner. What are we making tonight?
Lasagna.
Oh, I love lasagna. Okay. It's going to be a great bechamel sauce. We've got everything out. I've got a bottle of Chianti. You walk in the door, music is playing. The stove's already preheated. The ingredients are together. We're going to make this recipe and have a wonderful meal, right? Pretty easy. The lasagna is oftentimes better the next day. Now, if you come over instead and the door is locked, I'm not home, you have to break into the house, and you don't know that I keep my ground beef in a freezer in a closet downstairs that's locked, it's going to take you a lot longer to make that lasagna. Mm-hmm. And that's really what people don't seem to understand, is that if you put things off, You're setting your family up and your loved ones up to go on the scavenger hunt at the worst time possible, and you can significantly reduce so many hours of work while also ensuring that your wishes are actually carried out the way that you wanted them to be.
And that's the important thing, is carrying them out the way you wanted them to be carried out.
Yeah.
That you need to have that in place so that people know what to do. Because if you wanted to be cremated and they bury you, you're going to be pissed if heaven or hell was real. You're not going to be happy. All right, we completely sidetracked and went down the other way. But I want to do a U-turn, and I want to come back to the conversational games.
Okay.
Because this is a brilliant way to understand what your loved ones want done and for you to express what you want done. So tell me about your games.
I was in the hospital with my dad. It was about 5 days before he came home. And it was me, a few other people, and we just started asking him questions. Tell us one more story about when you were a kid, about grandpa. How do you feel about this? What do you want your legacy to be? Like, all of the questions that, if I had another hour with my dad, I'd want to ask. Now, it's funny. He's got a really quirky sense of humor. A nurse walked in the room, and he knew all the nurses. He goes, hey, and I'm just going to say her name was Kandas. I don't remember what her name is. Kandas, why is a giraffe's neck so long? And Kandas looks at him like, Andy, what are you doing? You're crazy. He goes, so it can reach its head. It's silly dad humor. And we realized that one of the most important and wonderful times of being in the hospital were moments like that. And we're never going to have that moment again because my dad passed away.
Yeah.
So,
and the fact that he told a joke on his deathbed when he probably knew he was dying.
Absolutely he did. And that's the type of person he is. That's really the ethos of Buried in Work. Like, if you look at the logo, it's actually a coffin, which is kind of crazy. Buried in work is punny. You're buried in work.
Oh, yeah, it is a coffin.
Right? It's a bee with somebody laying down. You never see it unless somebody points it out. We've got a lot of Easter eggs in what we do like that, because you have to accept this. We need to make talking about this type of thing more accessible. And that's exactly what these conversational card games are for. The first one is called One More Story. This has nothing to do with estate planning. This is more of legacy. So this is 126 cards, 6 categories. We worked with clinical social workers to make sure that they were topic specific for any age group above 13 and older, and also applicable for people from multiple different cultures. We worked with 2 game designers to make sure that they were accessible. And what I mean by that is they're physically printed in the United States, in Florida, on cardstock that is matte linen feel, so people that are older with dexterity issues can hold them better.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's really neat. So One More Story is about capturing those fun memories and those fun traditions about your family before they're gone, because they'll go away. The other one is a little bit more serious. People came to us and said, okay, I don't have time necessarily to use one of your clear kits because that takes a lot of time to fill out information. What should I be asking? And what Nothing Left Unsaid is, do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Who has the ability to advocate for you? Do you have advanced directives? How do you feel about palliative care? Here are definitions that you might need. So it's really rapid fire. And the funny thing is, we're actually selling them out in physical locations like Johns Hopkins Hospital. They have it in their Sibley location in the gift shop. They keep selling out. People love it. Hospice companies, nursing homes. We were nominated or selected, I guess, as one of the best road trip games for Father's Day, which is really neat.
Road trip. Oh, I guess, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
And something that I did not expect, someone actually took the One More Story game on a date and said that him and his date loved it.
A couple of years ago, I interviewed a woman who created a card game for couples that it was designed to enhance their relationship and get them closer to each other. And I was like thinking it's for married couples that have been married for a while. And she goes, no, you could use it on your first date. I'm like, I don't know how. I mean, it's been 20 almost 30 years since I went on a date. I don't know how my husband today would have reacted if I'd whipped out a card game and say, hey, let's answer these questions.
Probably not, but we had somebody send us an email that said that he bought it for him and his wife, and they went through some of the cards and they left it on the kitchen table. And when they came home, his daughter, who was 17, and one of her friends, they were at the kitchen table flipping through the cards, answering questions. So I think that if it was out at your house and someone said, what's that? You could say, I'll show you. But if you're out at a restaurant or a bar, you don't want to open up your bag and be like, it's time for your interview.
Okay, so there's games and there's other things. What other things besides games that can people find?
It's evolved. So the 2 games, taking that one step further, We created a game that's called Death During Dinner. So it's a way to host a dinner party for you and your friends to ask some of these questions. So that's on the website too. People come to us
Would that
oftentimes.
work for a Thanksgiving meal or a
Yeah,
Christmas meal? Okay.
people loved these. Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas. I mean, when you're getting around the table with your family members, oftentimes people are just looking at their phones, and that's what this game does, is it gets you off your phone.
Mm.
Maybe there's an app that's coming soon. We'll see, hint, hint. But for right now, it gets you off your phone.
I
Now,
kind of like the idea of it not being an app though.
yeah,
Because I mean, one of the things that we do at dinner after dinner, my daughter and my husband and I, we have an adult daughter who lives at home because that's the new normal, you know, is that we play a card game. You know, the game that we really enjoy playing is called Flux, and we have a couple different versions of it. But it isn't any different than playing one of these games.
yeah. And that's the thing for us. It's not an issue of a goal of getting through every single card. It's an idea of start and see where the conversation goes. Because you can have multiple different conversations around one card. You can focus on one person. You can go around the room and have multi-person gameplay. But the content from this, it all interlinks. So you talked about the holidays. We have checklists. And one of our checklists was, what are the questions that you should be asking and talking to your elderly parents about over the holidays to make sure that you have like an informal wellness check with them, that you're on the same page. We've got a very popular checklist, what to do after somebody dies, because if you haven't gone through it, you don't know. There's 56 steps and the examples for it. We have end-of-life tradition guides for 6 different religions and cultural traditions, from Christian, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, the LGBTQ plus, secular. And it's literally Q&A to articles to facts to end-of-life worksheets of this is what I want to have happen, even turned into ChatGPT so you can have a conversation with your computer about it.
What I like is that a lot of your resources are free.
Most of it, 90%.
Yeah, so you can find these things, and even the things that you're charging for are still very affordable.
Absolutely. And the clear kits right now for the premium 2-person, which handles you, your spouse, all of your kids, all of your dependents, is $400. And we've been told we should be charging $1,500 for this. But for us, it's more about helping people right now. It's important. And if you do go through the kit and then you go to your attorney, because it doesn't make your will or your trust, that we've got a section on the website to help you with that too, which we can talk about. You're going to save that money when you talk to your attorney, because they're going to have all the information that they need to give you a better output faster.
So you go through the process with the clear kit, and then you take it to your attorney, and your attorney creates your estate and your will.
Yeah, your estate plan, your trust, your updates. Our mantra is you develop your comprehensive estate plan today for tomorrow, and it evolves with you over time. So every April 16th, you go back and you say, what has happened? And we have a checklist that gets sent to you on April 16th if you buy the categories of, has somebody died? Have you got married? Have your kids gone over 18? You know, have you closed bank accounts? Have you opened credit cards? And there's tips. For example, so I'm going to put you on the spot. You and your husband probably have credit cards, right?
Well, we have one.
One credit card.
Yeah, we are debt free.
That is fantastic. I love it. You can still have credit cards and be debt free. So pay it off every month.
Yeah.
If you have one credit card and both of you have an account on it, or a credit card with your name on it, one person is the primary and one person is the secondary. If the primary person dies, what ends up happening is the secondary card holder, they have their card canceled immediately as well. So they have no access to credit. So it's important for families, as you go through these exercises, to learn and to realize what's going on. So each person should have one credit card at least in their name, so they can continue to pay stuff if they need to in the event something happened.
That is a fact that I didn't know. That's going to be a short, y'all.
Yep. You want another short?
Look for that YouTube short.
Here's another short for you. Payable on death beneficiaries are processed before your will. What that means is, if you don't update your beneficiaries on your bank accounts, on your retirement accounts, on your insurance policies, and something happens to you, those get processed first. This is important, and here's why. Somebody from Virginia said, I was married, I have 2 kids, I got a divorce, I updated my will. Now something happens to me, all of my assets go to my 2 kids. They didn't update the payable on death beneficiaries, which means that his ex-wife would still get all of his money in the event something happened to him that was in those accounts. So there's little tips and tricks that, unless you've gone through this before, you're just not going to even know to look. And that's what we're trying to help people with. A lot of the content that we have is a direct response to questions that we've gotten and received. Somebody reached out to us from the hospital, and they were in the waiting room, and they were listening, overhearing the conversation of the people next to them. And they were complaining that Amazon was sending them 4 rolls of toilet paper every 2 weeks. And they didn't know how to stop the shipment because the person's account who was ordering them on auto, fulfillment was in the hospital and incapacitated. So we went out and we contacted 100 of the largest companies in the country. And we have a free database for people to use now that lists all the customer support information that we could find and heard back from those companies to tell you what to do in the event someone, has a problem.
Is that one of the free downloads, or is that one you have to pay for? And is Facebook on that list?
Yeah, Facebook is on that list. So for Facebook specifically, there's legacy accounts, so you can designate who you want to manage your digital legacy. Other companies are on there, and it's literally, here's the form that you need to fill out and send in, or here's the email address that you need to contact. But that's free. And we have service provider directories that are free. We have 20 of them. We have checklists. We have a list of every single database in the country, both federal and state, to find your unclaimed property. It's free to use. The products that we have, the clear kits, the games, those are great. We want people to buy them. Please do. It helps us make more content. But a lot of what we do is not just focused on individuals and families, but we're working with companies and hospice companies and nursing homes and assisted living communities and others where they're buying these in bulk for their members. And that's where we get a lot of the revenue for the company.
You always have to balance the free with, you can't have a free business. You have to make some money. But again, everything on your site is extremely affordable.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to chat about that I found while I was digging around on your site is something that people don't really think about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a huge greeting card advocate. I think that people need to send more thank you cards, more, birthday cards, things like that. And you actually have an expressing condolences worksheet. That is the hardest card to send. It is the hardest card to send because most of the time you have no idea what to say. So talk to me about that. Where'd you get who did you work with? Sociologists, psychologists, who'd you work with on that one?
You really spent time digging on the site. I love this. We have an entire template section and the condolence log that I think you're talking about. We've got templates that people can use to say, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. But what I think is even more important than that, because you can find those words, is we created a log where you can write down what condolences, plural, that you actually receive. And the reason why is your headspace is going to be somewhere else when something happens. And you're not going to remember who sent you the bagels versus the flowers versus a note or a call or just said something that you really mean a lot. Like there was a friend after my dad died, he told me that it will never get better, but it will get easier. And I remember that, but there's so many other conversations that I had that I don't remember. So we created a log that's really easy for people to download and fill out that I received this from this person. And here's the checkbox that you fill out to say, I actually acknowledged it. And I sent them a thank you note, or I called them, or I'm good to go. The types of things that we're trying to create just to make things a little bit easier on people.
So the thing that I found was an actual guide to writing a condolence note.
We have that too.
Yeah.
We have probably 75 different templates in various things.
But having gone through two, I lost my mother and my mother-in-law within, it wasn't days, it was weeks of each other. I literally came home. I had gone out to my mother was in the hospital, incapacitated. She never woke up. I was probably out there in Portland for at least a month for that whole process through the funeral and everything. And I came home, and the next day I went to the hospital and said goodbye to my mother-in-law. That is how close they were to each other, the deaths. And it was completely different. With my mother, we had my sisters and I came together, and we all have our strengths. We're all very strong, independent women. The three of us are a force to be reckoned with when we work on something together, because we're all very efficient and good at stuff. So we got it all. We hosted a party and all this good stuff with, just fantastic. But for my mother-in-law, it was a different experience, because there was a lot less. My parents had a trust that, my dad was alive. My mother-in-law was single. She didn't really have anything put together for us. We didn't really know, other than the fact that she'd want to be cremated, what to do. It was just, the fact that all that was going on. So it's really nice to have a plan in place. It's a gift that you can give to your heirs.
On the box of the Clear Kit, it literally says, "Leave your heirs the gift of organization." The
See,
former,
I
the
didn't even
former,
read that.
yeah, the former deputy chief technology officer of NASA is the person who said that about it.
Nice.
Yeah, not bad, right?
Very
The
nice.
the people that have found what we're doing and the response has been phenomenal. We were at the NFDA, so the National Funeral Director Association conference in New Orleans, which was amazing. And there's an industry news periodical called Connecting Directors that goes out to something like 50,000 funeral directors. And while the conference was going on, the biggest conference in the country for funeral directors, the number one article, first big headline was Buried in Work might seriously be the most comprehensive end of life resource ever. It's just amazing what's going on and the response that we've had.
It's not just for people, for individuals, but it's also for businesses.
Yeah.
You've got resources for the person who wants to leave their legacy, and you have resources for the people who want to ask the right questions of the person leaving the legacy. And then you've got resources for businesses too. Talk about the business portion of it.
So businesses are comprised of people, and they have employees and they have customers, and we have offerings for both. So if you are an association that needs help with planned giving, we have resources for you there to help people say, I'd like to donate some of my estate to you and to interact. We have customized content that's white labeled, effectively powered by. Companies have realized that for their employees, that when something happens to them in their life, that life gets complicated and they might not have all of the mental capacity and facility to focus on their job. So they view our resources as a tool for their employees that in the event something were to happen to them, they can actually get back to work and be efficient faster. And that's the business side of things. But the reality is that there's a signal of we're giving you something and resources that will help you get organized that we hope that you're not going to have to use for decades. And that's an investment in your employees that really resonates a lot more than saying we're going to give you $50 for a new pair of sneakers so you can go on walks or go to the gym. So that's one of the ways that we're working with companies. Other companies are utilizing our content for their customers. There's a CPA that we're speaking with, and he's interested in a 1,500 unit order of clear kits for all of his customers.
Oh, nice.
It's great because he sees the value in what we're doing to help them get organized and to go back to him for upsell. So it's been
And
pretty...
it's the CPA, not the attorney.
Yeah, we're working with attorneys too.
Yeah.
When you talk about an estate plan, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not just an attorney. Oftentimes, there's oftentimes an attorney, your tax prep, your CPAs, your healthcare people, and as you navigate in life, we actually have a free roadmap that says consider these different things. Different people are going to weigh in, and having a centralized resource that everybody can learn from and refer back to is very helpful.
So 20 something years ago, the qualified with the something, we had an employee named Tony. My husband and I, we had a custom furniture business, and we had an employee named Tony. And Tony loved our daughter. She was probably 2 when he passed away. Every time he saw her, he'd pick her up, and she loved him and he loved her. And he was like part of our family. And when he was killed in an automobile accident, it took us 6 weeks to recover. Not only did we lost a key employee at the business. It was, a mom and pop operation. We lost one of our key employee. And it just took us a while to get back to production and wanting to do work and everything. And so after that, we started taking out Keyman insurance policies on the key people on our team. And some folks get a little put off by the idea that their employer has a life insurance policy on them. Do you want to talk about that?
You're a business, and businesses are comprised of people, and it can be the owner, it can be the employees, but what you need to do is be forthright and share with them, this is why we're doing it, and explain that there's a reason it's important. Now, if you just say, listen, we're insuring you because you're so critical to the business and you frame it the right way, I think it's actually going to go over really well. We have sections on our website to help you with that. So there's an entire section called information hubs. It's on the top of the website. There's a drop down once you click it, with probably 20 different hubs already, maybe even 25, where you can search and learn about insurance, where you can search for personal historians and family legacy historians, where you can learn about wills. And it says, these are the 3 ways that you can make a will by yourself, on your own. Here are the requirements in your state of what it means to be a legally valid will. With a service provider online, you can link with several other companies or with somebody. And the way that I bring this up is because taking out a Keyman insurance policy on one person, that is just part of a larger puzzle that you're going to be operating within. And what I'd suggest is that if you do that, make sure that they understand what that larger puzzle is and frame it in a way that we're doing this because you are so critical to our business and we want you to be taken care of and we want us to be able to continue. And those conversations, when they're framed the right way, they actually can be beneficial.
Yeah. And it's not like we're taking out $1 million policy on you. We're taking out a policy that'll cover our loss if you were to pass away.
If you were, though, it wouldn't be problematic because they're not paying for it.
Well, that's true.
So it's a question of, hey, the way I would frame it is we're taking out a Keyman insurance policy, not only on us, but also on you because you are so critical. Here is why. The only issue is, are they going to think, and this is the crazy, eventuality of decision tree, is like, are they going to try and kill me now? But don't do that.
No. If you care enough about an employee and they're such an integral part of your company, you do not, to have this Keyman policy on them, you're not going to kill them because they are an important, integral part of your company.
Exactly.
Especially if you're a small business. If there are 3 people in your company, you're not going to kill the third one.
And what you do, and if you really want to be generous, is you say, we're also taking out an insurance policy for you that's going to pay out to somebody that you want.
And that's a nice way to address that too.
Yeah. Get them the clear kit, get them the games that we have, talk to us about the other things that we offer. So we have a service that we'll start the conversation with your parents for you on a Zoom. You can join if you want. We have a free estate summary worksheet, 3 pages long, very easy to fill out, that if you have nothing, you should have this. Do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Where are they? Do you have an attorney? Just the real high level basics. And then from there, it evolves. We've got a really cool service that's pricey for some people, but we will literally go into your house legally at the end of your life, and we'll get rid of that bag in your closet that you might not want your kids or your family members to have to deal with. And we'll also deliver legacy messages in person if that's something that you want.
What an interesting service.
Yeah, it's neat, isn't it?
Because that is the thing. I mean, it's amazing what people find after someone passes away.
Mm-hmm. And we will literally go into someone's house, and there's contracts that are signed that show that we have the right to do it. If you're in the hospital, we go in with you on camera, like here on Zoom. You let us know how to turn off your alarm system if you need to, because there's some things that you just don't need your family members to have to deal with. We'll literally fly anywhere in the country to do it.
Wow.
And then we have the lighter side, which is probably my favorite thing about the website now.
Go on.
So much about estate planning is about death, right? The transition of what happens to my assets after I pass away. What happens to me and who gets to advocate for me in the event I can't advocate for myself. All these things that are really important to do, but a lot of people, they just don't want to talk about it. But there's some funny things that go along with it. So we released a whole section to our store called The Lighter Side, and it's where legacy meets laughter. So we've got witty t-shirts and sweatshirts and funny candles. We have a coffee line that's about to be launched. And in the next few days, it'll be up by the time this goes on. It's like the probate blend to keep you up at night when things are getting really complicated.
This is my coping mechanism candle.
Yeah. The light at the end of the tunnel. This is the actual light that you'll see. Don't tell my kid or my cat or dog inherits everything. Don't tell my kids.
Oh, that's hilarious.
There's funeral director socks, which I love. It's just like a repeating pattern of hearses. World's okay. Like, my sister bought me a t-shirt once that said world's okayest brother, which I think is amazing. I wear it out all the time. And now we have t-shirts that say world's okayest trustee, world's okayest estate administrator, world's okayest executor.
That's hilarious. Dead inside.
Yeah.
These are hilarious. But you know what? If you can laugh while you're doing this, it's fun. All right. The people listening to the show, the listeners are, for the most part, micropreneurs, solopreneurs. So give me the top three things that a solopreneur needs to have in place to make sure that their business is taken care of if they were to pass away.
First thing, make sure you have your affairs in order. That means that you have all of your information written down in one place. If you have a will, if you don't have a will, that is okay. You have to start where you are today. So get organized. Second thing, update and fill the gaps that you find as you're figuring that out. Do I need a will? Do I need a trust? Who needs to be notified? What do I need to update? Once you have that, the third step, and this is the most important thing for solo entrepreneurs and micropreneurs, is creating that succession plan for your actual business in the event something happened. A lot of people say, I want to be a micropreneur and entrepreneur because I don't want to have a boss anymore. And that is a ridiculous thing to say, because anybody that's actually in the thick of it knows that you're just trading one boss for a different type. Now you have employees that are your boss. Now you have customers that are your boss. Now you have spouses that are your boss.
I'm going to tell you, customers are a way worse boss than a boss.
You have this empathy and this drive and this need that you have to make sure that they're okay. If something happened to you, what happens to them because the business ceases to function? Do you need a buy-sell agreement, which means that if you have a partner, that they have the opportunity to buy them out because they might not want to be in business with your Aunt Sally, who could inherit things, let's say. So it's going through those succession planning steps. We have relationships in place with several different companies, depending on where you are, that can help you with that. But you need to make sure that that is all buttoned up and people have that side of things taken care of in the event something were to happen to you, or can step in and take care of it. So those are the three things. Where you are today, organize everything and get things up to speed where they need to be, and then focus on your business succession plan. Number 3.
Excellent. All right, we've talked about a lot, but I'm sure there's other things you want to talk about. So what else?
I'm a beekeeper. That's kind of neat.
Hold on. Let's talk about this. You have bees?
Yeah.
Do you live in an urban area or a suburb, or are you out in the country?
I live about 45 minutes with no traffic, maybe a little less than that from Washington, D.C. I'm in Maryland.
Oh, so you are in a metro area.
Yeah, I'm in a metro area, suburban.
Because I've driven through Washington, D.C., and I was like an hour away, but I was driving through Washington, D.C.
There are bees. I was actually at the White House recently, and they have beehives on their grounds, which is kind of neat.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Why were you at the White House?
It's just for a thing.
Is a thing?
Yeah, you live in D.C. and you get invited to weird things, or in the area, you get invited to things that are fun. I've been to the bowling alley in the old executive building at the White House. That's pretty cool. D.C. has some fun stuff. Yeah.
That's cool. I live in a small town. But it's urban. So I live in not a country town, but an urban town that's smaller. So 20,000 people, Muskegon, Michigan. It's here. Okay.
Yep.
My neighbor across the alley, our houses are 100 years old, so we have alleys, which is, I don't know why America went away from the alley system, but alleys are wonderful. And I don't know if I could ever live in a house that doesn't have an alley again. All right. So anyway, my neighbor across the alley, she keeps bees in her backyard. It is so cool.
Yeah.
It is so cool. And then, we're, as her neighbors, we're thinking, what can we plant for the bees? As her neighbors, we're doing that.
But here's the thing. So if you want to get in the whole bee area, so for those that don't know, Muskegon, and here's my Michigan geography, is just northwest of Grand Rapids, a little bit farther north of Kalamazoo.
How do you know that? It's about 90 minutes from Kalamazoo.
Well, one of my friends grew up in Kalamazoo.
Okay.
You guys are really close to water.
We're on the water, yeah.
You're across the lake from Milwaukee.
Yes. Right? Yes, we are. Correct.
One bee can fly in any direction 3 miles from their hive, which means that if you draw that full circumference around, the area that a single beehive will pollinate is about 27 square miles.
Wow.
For you guys, that's cut off because a lot of that's over the water and they're not going to be going over there.
Yes.
When bees go out to pollinate, they always go to the same type of flower every single time on their trip, which is really neat because a rose can't pollinate a tulip. So just by nature, they always want to collect the same type of pollen on their specific trip. So within that circle, while you're planting flowers for the bees to pollinate, the bees that are next door to you or down the street may actually never find those flowers. And a hive that is 3 miles away might be the ones that are going to that flower.
That's cool. So will a bee fly over a smaller lake?
Yeah, they'll fly over it. But the reality is if I believe it's more than 3 miles across the
Oh,
lake. So yeah,
it's a 3-hour boat ride to
yeah,
Milwaukee
they're
from
just
here.
not going to
Yeah,
make it.
no, that's not happening.
They're not gonna
But
make
we
it.
have I live so Lake Michigan is here, and then we have Muskegon Lake, which is here, and
Yeah.
Muskegon Lake. We can see the other side of it, so it's
Hmm.
not. It might be quarter of a mile wide, maybe half a mile. I
Oh,
don't think it's half a
they'll
mile.
go right over
Yeah,
that. No
they
problem.
go. Okay, very
No problem.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Very
depending
cool.
on the same hive will have different types of honey throughout the year that'll change in color and flavor and viscosity and a whole host of other things because weather changes too. So what you get one year is going to be very different from the next year.
You never know where these conversations are going to go. I had no idea we
Yeah.
were going to talk about bees and honey, but bees are one of my favorite topics because they are so important to the ecosystem and they are going extinct and we need
Yep.
them not to.
It's strange. Like for me, so much of what I'm doing now, and this is literally more rewarding than anything I've done before, has ties back to my dad. So my dad and I, we worked on the hives together. I became a beekeeper during COVID, and then he got certified so he could do it with me, which was fun.
Oh,
The camera that I'm recording on today is a DSLR that I inherited from my dad. Uh,
no.
it's unique, the different pathways of how things end up. It's all interconnected, and I don't know really where I'm going with that, but it's nice. Like so many different things, they're just linked.
Legacy is more than the money that they leave behind or the possessions that they leave
Yeah,
behind. Their legacy is their memory.
yeah.
And,
Uh,
and the beekeeping is a legacy.
Absolutely. A lot of people think that legacy is I'm going to endow my name on a bank, right, or on a stadium or a library if they have that type of cash. I don't think that I'm going to be remembered in 300 years and 500 years and 1,000 years. I mean, there are so few people in the world that are remembered, for an extended period of time. So the legacy then becomes, what are you doing to leave the world in a better place today than how you found it? And for me, if we can take a really negative, sad experience that was the passing of my father and turn it into something that helps a lot of other people, that's exactly what we want to do. And I have a friend, Eric. So Eric, if you're listening, appreciate the support.
Thanks, Eric.
Eric is a really dry, sarcastic, witty, just friend's friend that I've known my entire life, literally grew up with him. So he knew my father. And after Buried in Work started having its initial successes, we were hanging out one day. I said, you know what, Adam? There is nothing that would have made Andy. Andy's my dad. You know what, Adam? There's nothing that would have made Andy happier and prouder than knowing that you are helping people, making money off of his death. And yeah, that's pretty accurate. And that's kind of where we are. We've got a punny name for a company that does some really serious stuff that has a lighter side to it because you need to be able to wake up and go to work. And if we have the ability to help a lot of people in the process, I'm pretty happy for it. And that's what the legacy is going to be.
All right, Adam Zuckerman, this is your moment of gratitude. For whom or what are you most grateful?
Opportunities like this to meet new people. If there's anybody that's listening that needs some help, shoot me an email. Find us on the website. We'd love to help out. And yeah, that's it.
Thanks for tuning in to Gratitude Geek, the podcast for grateful micropreneurs building genuine, lasting relationships with clients, colleagues, and community. Our theme music is track 14 by Rev Brock and Soul Lily. To connect with Adam Zuckerman, head over to the show notes at gratitudegeek.com. This is episode 256. I've been your host, Kandas Rodarte. Stay groovy, my friends.
Stay groovy, my friends.